Hello.
Stephen Sykes.
Hi, Stephen. How are you?
Hi, no, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Very good.
Sorry I'm late. I was having some problems connecting.
Okay, yeah, this is my first time using this software too, so I'm fumbling through, but at least I know in Q&A mode. Are you able to see my screen in Q&A mode?
Yeah, I can see it, yeah.
Perfect. We'll just wait another minute and then we'll go on. Some people are unmuted, but you know, they may not want to talk, and that's fine. First one we're doing, I'll keep it kind of short and more on the, you know, I don't need to train people like the GDPR Institute, which are fantastic, with a bunch of resources. This is more just to kind of show what we offer, and it's a real application and kind of our methodology and philosophy. So actually, you know, I'll just kind of jump into it, and if people get in late, you know, I'll send them copies. But you know, this really, the whole EU GDPR is not a lot different, in my opinion, than any data management type project, banking regulations. And, you know, where people go wrong is they think they fix it once and they don't worry about it. And the points we're trying to stress where a software technology comes to play is you have to have your data protection officers by law communicate the policies all the way down through IT and all the different departments. And you also have to take into consideration you're not just dealing with static and rest data sitting in HDFS and Hive and HBase, but you've got Internet of Things coming in from all over. So you've got a continual process of information that's either going to assist your data lake or it's going to pollute your data lake more.
Yeah.
And then where we come in is the computer-assisted audit tools and techniques. Because just like you heard with the issues that Facebook's having, where now they don't want to allow murders and live video streams of crimes and rapes and issues. They've hired like 3,000 people to monitor that. And I think what we're going to find is without computer-assisted audit tools and techniques, you're going to be like Google, who has hired many, many of thousands of people when people want their identity taken back and hidden. And it's the opposite of some of the, you know, GDPR stuff is to protect the information, but you got the flip side is how do I give somebody their anonymity back and take all their information away? So you really kind of got the same problem coming in two different directions. And with the shortage of 2-3 million data scientists and data managers, that becomes a big issue. And it has to be a continuous compliance process. You start doing it today, and you got to do it every day. Because every day in data lakes, in HDFS, in Hive, and HBase, because it's streaming data, we're sitting in situations where there's just continual data coming through. Just some of the key components, and I'm going to get right into the product, is, you know, GDPR is not a game. I mean, it's a very, very costly proposition. So just because you might be a Google and you might get hit with a $4 billion fine, you might get hit with $4 billion 10 times. And it's going to put you out of business. So cyber threats are going to happen. It's not a matter of if you're going to get hacked. It's a matter of when you're going to get hacked. And GDPR is basically saying, we're giving you 2 years leniency to a point, but we're going to jump on top of you come May 2018. We built a secure sequester and encryption process that goes through and will find the majority of the things that are supposed to be encrypted and protected. And there are other things that people are still going to have to use some of those data scientists for these obscure type things that you have to look for when it's these kind of what if else analysis that can narrow a geography down to 10 people that's still considered privacy. We work both with data files that are kind of static or at-rest data, and we work with streaming data. And the streaming data is important because we will encrypt it before it even has a chance to get written into your data lake. You know, and you can deal with the false positives at another time. So we utilize catalogs, regular expression engines, NLP, and a lot of technology built 100% in the Hadoop platform and environment. So unlike a couple other companies that do things out there, they run outside the edge node, they put your data at risk, and they're going to run longer, and they're going to bring your Hadoop environments and platforms down, because they're going to run out of disk space or memory on the different nodes. Because we're 100% Hadoop ecosystem, that will never happen. And we go through looking for personally identifiable information. We have a nice D3.js front end that calls the APIs, but people can build their own APIs. So I don't care if you're a software company, consulting company, or General Motors, IBM, whoever you are, minority of being, you'll be able to incorporate this in your processes. So you got to discover the data, build a catalog where your issues are. You need to sequester it and encrypt it, and you need to validate, and then you need to remediate. And so it's just kind of a circle of processes that are going to go on for the existence of your company if you're going to stay compliant. And the U.S. is adapting a lot of this, and even though some countries are leaving the EU, they're going to be adopting GDPR. So what I'm going to do now is just run through the process of the product in a manual way, but it also has automated scheduling features. And this is what becomes important where other products differ on philosophy and methodology. So the first thing we do is we go out and say, let's run a bunch of patterns. So we're going to use a sophisticated regular expressions engine that lets you do individual expressions, and it allows you to group the regular expressions for banking, for insurance, for different type of audit purposes. You can have 50 or 100 regular expressions looking for different patterns. Might just have Social Security and email. That becomes your choice. And for companies that are using Cloudera and IBM and other types of tools for metadata and lineage, we store in our intelligent catalog everything everybody does, who's encrypted, who's decrypted, who's added columnar names. All this type of lineage and security is important because especially with GDPR, you need to know what users touched what data, saw it, encrypted it, decrypted it, and if they decrypted it, what did they use it for? So a very quick type of example is to say, okay, I found Social Security in emails. So here I'm going to go look at Social Security, and I'm just going to open up HDFS first and show you the patterns and show you we've got Social Securities. And you can use Apache Drill to go down to the actual live data to see, hey, it's name, address, credit card, Social Security. We got a lot of exposures here. So once you find the exposures, the question is, we allow you to automate it. or you can have your data analysts and scientists come in and say, encrypt the whole file till we know what's going on, or we're just going to sequester Social Security. So before I sequester that, I want to show you in the file content, Social Security is exposed. But when I go into a process to what we call sequester and encrypt, I'm now going to say, I just want to protect Social Security, so I am going to run a process. As it's running, I can show you with our more technical background user interface that we can look at pattern discovery and go in and look at Social Security and see that Social Security are exposed, and we in file content, we just do, now you see here in file content that Social Security is now encrypted with, NSA standard AES 256 encryption. So now if somebody with a third-party tool and they go to access that column for their reporting purposes, they'll be able to see what the pattern was, but they're sure not getting to the Social Security anymore. So if they drill down to the system source of record, you can see that we fully encrypted Social Security. Now, these keys are stored off-site, outside of the nodes. It's the only time we go outside of the nodes. So if your Hadoop environment is hacked, at least all they're getting is encrypted data that will take them forever to do anything. Now, if you have permission, you can use our APIs with the proper authority, and we do things user-based authority. You then can free that up for people because they need to do reporting or call that API on the fly. Now we're going back into HDFS and Hive because we store things in 2 locations. So we protect all the heuristic history that goes into Hive and HDFS and the timestamps. And then when you go look at file content, now we've decrypted it. So now this information can and does become available for your various reporting that you have to do. And as soon as you're done with that reporting, then you're going to go through the encryption process again. So then we allow you to be able to go through and re-encrypt everything through the APIs or through our products. So if I go to Social Security and now I'm looking at it again, you can see they're back to normal Social Securities down to the HDFS level. So we let you control that, but we also, as you notice, have namings for the columns, which you lose in Hadoop. And our big thing is the intelligent catalog. So what we allow you to do is to go in and find the proper naming for the columns so people know where they are. You can import them from metadata tools, export them to other metadata tools, and or you can create your own headers. Now, where we help you get some of the ideas of what's in there, we have a thing called quick classification. This will very quickly allow you to be able to work in our intelligent catalog and say, hey, wait, you're determining that this column is an email 81% of the time. Is it a false positive or is it real? Well, you're looking at the data, it's real. So now you've got the capability to use that name for that column so the data scientists and other people, when they go into Hadoop or HBase or Hive, they'll have proper naming of the information. Now, in that same methodology, we do streaming. And in order to do streaming of either social streaming like Meetup and Twitter or actual business streams, we do the same type of processing. So we allow you to create producer files instead of having to know Java and create the producer files that will be used for Kafka. We let you come in here, define the path, the credentials, and the information you need to get to the live streaming data. And then at that point, we will go through and let you run your jobs, pick the regular expressions of the patterns you're looking for, and then afterwards you can validate. Now we use HBase for the results of streaming because if you have streams that run for days or weeks, in HDFS you can't look at it until the jobs are done. Here we're telling you what we were looking for, and we're letting you get a quick look to see the results, and these were the streams that came in, but we encrypted it before it was written into HBase. And then, for validation purposes, you can go into the actual HBase, add some more metadata into the aliases and descriptions that define groupings of columns. So we give you full access and control to HBase, to Hive, and to HDFS. And again, we do all that through the regular expressions engine, individually and grouping. When you run the jobs, we have all the lineages sitting in the log files, so you know who did what, when they did it. And to take it a step further, we don't just stop people, though, the GDPR is about protecting data or finding data. There's a really, really good article and information by the GDPR Institute that goes through what the important key changes are and the things you really need to look for. And the areas, now we don't do everything and no one product can do everything, but we do the vast majority. So one, we all know the penalties are huge. The game is over. People are going to jail and they're paying a lot of money. Breaches. Well, you don't care if you get breached if you properly encrypted your data, then the hackers aren't going to get anything worthwhile. Your right to be forgotten, that's what's costing Google a fortune. They've got to be able to go in and find every email, every phone number, every part of your first name, last name, a lot of information to give you the right to be forgotten. Data protection officers, these are the people that are going to jail. They're responsible to pass the information down, and they need to make sure that this data is protected. To me, those are the key things that are going on, that people can read and get all the actual sources from, this nice GDPR Institute site. When is it coming into effect? Well, in May, I think they're going to make a lot of ugly examples of companies, and it's going to cost them a lot of money. The penalties for noncompliance and what constitutes personal data. The basic stuff, the emails, the banking information, websites, URLs, medical information, which here we call HIPAA in the U.S., computer IP addresses, all this stuff we could find. We can find image files and PDF files and Word docs and then interrogate those. So that's the kind of stuff that people are up against, at the high level of our opinion of what needs to be done quickly in GDPR. Now, for companies that want to take it a step farther and they want to know from the data scientists, data management people, how many blanks do I have? What column do I have them in? The old data profiling. We got that information for you. We can give you that information. Outlier anomalies really skew reporting. And I think that could end up falling in the EU GDPR because you're misreporting information. You have certain outliers that probably shouldn't be shown. Here we let the user pick the lower and upper bounds of anomalies based on standard deviations and the means of the data and the files, and then they can look at things within a certain range and say, hey, anything over a 4 means this machine part's going to break, or this bank allowed more than 10 deposits over $9,999. And then you can drill into that system source of record down to the HDFS level or HBase or Hive level and see the complete transaction and see what happened there. So you have a complete dashboard, both for technical people that want to be able to go right into data discovery, pattern discovery, or quick classifications. So for those types of people, they can do it. For the higher level executive types, they just want to know how they're doing heuristically over time so they can find out where and what inputs, like a Nielsen or a third-party input, are ultimately skewing their information or exposing information. You want to look very quickly at the content so you know where you have information. You want to be able to very quickly and easily go into an encryption-decryption. Here we have nothing decrypted. So we know that. So we would have to go back and decrypt the pieces we want. The streaming process, I showed you how we set up the producer files, the run jobs, and the display jobs. You got full control at each base level to be able to view the information and edit it. Our task menu, so if you find that you have an issue in a certain area and that task needs to be assigned, you know, that new data protection officer has a responsibility to start delegating. So if we know we have Social Security in this column, we want to be able to say, hey, we're going to go take this user and just say SSN exposed, and I spelled it wrong, but that's okay. Put a priority on it, and now that person is going to be assigned that task. Once they're assigned that task, the risk, security, protection officers can go into the tasks, see what's assigned to themselves, assigned by them or assigned to them, and see the statuses of who's working on what and where they're at, so you know your exposures. And we make it very easy to be able to run jobs, you know, by simply looking at what's in HDFS or assigning the producer files or streaming data. Pick the file or files or folders you want to work with and execute your jobs. Now, an example here, if we wanted to go into, we have some integration here with Cloudera. So if you do have a Navigator product and you wanted to see their lineage, you'd be able to come in here and see who has authority, what authority, and when the last time they entered certain files. And if you combine that content along with our log files of who did what, when they did it, you've got some really, really nice lineage, metadata, intelligent catalog information to be able to go through and decipher who internally and externally has had access to information. So it's a pretty easy to use interface. All the calls can be made through APIs, and we install. We're going to be putting the link out for the installation. It takes about 15-20 minutes to install everything. It's a bunch of jar files, Spark files, Kafka files stored as jar files in the actual Hadoop ecosystem, and the data never leaves the ecosystem except the encryption keys and summary information is hidden in MySQL files, which is heavily secured. We're just pushing on people communicate. 80% of data protection officers, risk officers, compliance officers just think IT is doing everything, and they're not. You got to know all the potential sources of data that go in the data lake. It'll take you 5 or 10 years to have data scientists build repeatable processes, and they're going to miss a lot of things. So you need our product, anybody's product, some computer-assisted audit tools and remediation tools, and make sure it's continual compliance. So does that seem to make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense, Steve.
And this is what we are bringing to market. We're offering free 30-day use so people can download a file that is an automatic file. It could be command line driven or graphical interface driven. It steps you through everything, and it pre-populates or allows you to be able to populate the control panel. So it will ask, where is your Hadoop and your HBase and your drill and your Hive and your Zookeeper. What are your email settings for notification to tell people who's been assigned what? What's your Cloudera Navigator information, your Twitter information? If you're using Kerberos, you can set up all your paths and keys to Kerberos. This Twitter happened to be built prior to our building of the streaming producer files. So now in the streaming producer files, we've made it a lot easier to be able to establish your connections, be it drilling presses in the middle of the ocean for oil or what have you. So, and then we're also offering 2-day, 3-day remote data audits. So we could remotely get with you in a meeting like this, have companies installed in less than an hour, and be fully productive that day. And if you have 5 nodes or 5,000 nodes, we're going to run and scale accordingly because we are part of the Hadoop ecosystem. So it doesn't matter to me, if you have 100 million rows or 10 billion rows. If you got 50 nodes and 10 billion rows, we're probably going to process in a couple hours. We're going to scale as fast as Hadoop is going to let you scale. We do have connectors to Teradata. We have connectors to MySQL. We have connectors to Oracle, the latest versions, and to DB2. So we have the major ones covered, and we can add them if people want to, but we really recommend people just porting the data into an encrypted zone, let us run our processes, encrypt what you need, and then move things into the folders. Now, one other feature I didn't go to that's really important for data scientists, data management, for sequestering purposes as much as encryption is, once you find a bunch of files that are suspect, even if they're false positives, here's an example of false positives. If you set up your regular expressions tight enough, you'll know the difference between a credit card and a Social Security based on the first 3 digits and the next 3 digits. But in case you don't, what we allow you to do is just come up with any folder name you want, select the columns and the associated files. In this case, I have 1 file, and you run the process. We haven't deleted any data at this point yet, but what we have done is created a folder that has the file that has the potential problems, and now your data scientists, your data management people, your security people can go look at the 10 or 20 or 30 files, have them in one place, and then do the remediation, then go back to the originating file path and go clean things up from that point. So we give you the chance to consolidate everything into one place, also for reporting purposes. If you're reporting on returned items or bank transactions over 10 a day, put them all into one place, let your data scientists do their magic, their predictive analytics, their anti-money laundering testing, and not have to figure out where all the files are because we've done the pattern analysis for you. So it's very easy for us to be able to tell you, let me go back to a file. Since we can tell you where to find specific files and data with our quick classification or our discovery, you can very quickly know, wow, here are my IP addresses and so on. But buried in these IP addresses might be social securities that came from a mainframe. So what's nice is we allow you to come in and be able to look at all the data and then, do a quick search. So if I thought maybe social security was in here, I could do a pattern for social security. If there were any in here, it would have popped up. This is telling me there isn't, so at least I know there isn't. I can look for emails, I can look for other stuff. What's in here besides 86% email, you'd be able to tell through running our processes ultimately what's in there. But at least this gives you an idea of the likelihood of what information you're going to find in these columns. 76% are Social Security. These certainly are Social Security. So there's a lot of other features that delve a little bit out of GDPR, but will assist in GDPR. But to be able to go in quickly, find the patterns of data that's going to get you fined, be able to sequester and encrypt it, AES 256 encryption, store and hide the key, and again, since things are managed by the users, the user base will tell you this person has an admin, what role they're in. Can they encrypt complete files, columns, decrypt files and columns? So maybe it's okay to let somebody encrypt data, but not decrypt it. So you're not going to worry about fraud or any of those types of issues. So you control the users and the roles. We don't want to be responsible for passing this information to third-party reporting tools like other tools do, because I don't want that liability, but you can build your own internal APIs, get to the keys, decrypt what you think needs to be decrypted, put your timers in there, we'll log the information, and then re-encrypt it. So when you get hacked, not if you get hacked, they're going to get encrypted data. So that's really our first webinar. It's to let people know we're real. We're Cloudera certified, Hortonworks certified. We've tested with billions and billions of rows. We come packaged with Apache Hadoop as VMware or as a individual install that you can install our product or our product with Kafka, with Spark, with Hive, with HBase, with MySQL, which comes with all Hadoop versions. But in case you didn't install it, we'll auto-install all the other pieces you may not have installed at your company. So with this said, if anyone has any questions, they can ask them. If anyone has interest in absolutely free, no cost, give us 1 or 2 people, probably 1 person, an hour or 2, be fully installed, up and running. I'll train you for free. I'll go through a data audit assessment to show you how good the other products you bought are working, how well your internal people are getting the job done, or show you how fast we can get the job done. You can use the product for 30 days, and if you like it, you can buy it. If you don't, the key will expire, and you'll at least have learned the do's and don'ts to properly, discover and encrypt and secure information for both GDPR and U.S. governance. So I'll leave it at that. People know how to reach me. Any specific questions on the technology or the product?
No, thank you, Stephen. That was really thorough.
What do you think of the technology?
Yeah, really impressive.
And is this Steve talking? Is this Steve right now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank you. And do you mind telling me, are you an independent or what company you're with? Or?
So I'm looking at starting a business potentially in the next 12 months, which will be a marketing database company. And I was just looking at technology that potentially we could build our technical offering on.
Okay. Okay. Well, I appreciate everybody's time, and please reach out to me. You know how to reach me through here. And if you'd like to play with it on one of your machines, or we'll give you access to one of our servers, you're more than welcome to it.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Stephen.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Everybody have a good day. Bye-bye now.